Hey there, it's Pete with GCI Turf. Hope you're having a great day today. I've got a very special guest with me. This is the Toro Grandstand, and this is a GCI Turf MowDown ShowDown. If you're new to the channel, I'd like to welcome you. Be sure and like, subscribe, and share. Tell all your buddies in the landscaping, lawn care world, we got a really special and a really cool opportunity to go over 14 of the biggest, baddest stand-on mowers that are made in America. I do want you to know this is not a paid promotion. None of these companies are paying me. None of them are letting me keep their mowers. I'm doing this on my own time, on my own dime, simply to help you. I do have one thing I'd like to ask, that you be respectful in the comments. Somewhere along the line, you probably had a bad experience with one of these brands, but I want you to keep in mind that American hands build these mowers day in and day out, and they take that income home and they feed their family with it. So somewhere down the line, you know, something you say might potentially affect that in a negative way, and I know that's probably a strange way to look at it, but it's my way of looking at it, and for that reason I simply ask that you be respectful in the comments. So what we're doing here is a 10-point scoring system on a lot of different categories, and not only am I going to score it on a 1 through 10, I've got 3 of my crew leaders who are taking out every single machine out into the field, and then they're going to give me feedback, go through the same categories, and they're going to score them 1 through 10 as well. That way you're not just getting my take and my opinion, you're getting the opinion of 4 different people who have a lot of combined experience cutting turf. So when we start these off, I like to start off with one word, and that's just one word I'm going to use to give my first impressions of the mower. And yesterday afternoon, cut my grass, cut the blue, my neighbors and my father-in-law, so everything's kind of fresh on my mind. This is the following morning, out here wrapping this up, and you know, this is the first time I've ever mowed any turf with a Toro Grandstand. First time ever being on one, and my one word is impressive. This mower checks off a lot of boxes for me. I didn't know what to expect coming into it, but I'm pretty impressed. This is a very, very, very good, solid mower. Everything from the cut quality, ease of maintenance. It's got the same, you know, poor attributes as far as ride quality goes, but that's with the rest of them across the board. The ride quality on all of them suck. The first category is bad to the bone, where we're going to talk about aesthetics, you know, simply how the mower looks. And you know that I'm that muscle car guy. I like the kind of in your face, chop your head off kind of look. You know, just I'm bad to the bone. I can't wait to get off the trailer and just jump on that grass and just tear it up. And you know, when I look at this mower, I don't get that. I really don't. The design of the mower is a little bit different. And what I mean by that is your platform is kind of sticking off the back instead of, you know, tucked away up inside the frame. The rake of the machine, I call it a rake, you know, I think that's the part on a motorcycle that sticks out. The front end of the machine is kind of long and kind of sticks out further than the other ones, and it's basically in the shape of an L. And you know, I've always said you never buy something based on the way it looks unless you're buying a car, obviously, or a home. You know, when you're buying equipment for the purpose to make a living and generate income, you buy that machine based on how it performs, not how it looks. You could have a complete box sitting here with an engine and a deck and controls, but if it was the best cutting, if it was the fastest, if it was the best striping, if it was the easiest to maintain, if it scored a 10 on everything except the looks, if it just looked terrible, chances are I'm still going to buy that machine because the looks of it doesn't generate you income. The way it performs is what generates you income. And with all that said, I still wanted to do, give you my take on what I think about how they look, and because I just think that's a cool category. Everybody has their own opinion about that, and of course you get to make your own about it as well. But I'm just not getting that, that vibe of, I'm getting ready to jump off the trailer and destroy a yard real fast. So for that reason, on the aesthetics, I'm gonna give it a 7. And as part of this category, we go over the build quality. I'm seeing still the same thing. A lot of these welds appear to be robot welded, which that just takes human error out of it for the most part. But then again, I'm also seeing welds that I think have been done by human hands as well. So there's a lot to be said about something being made in America, because as Americans in manufacturing, we tend to take pride in what we do, and we want it spot on. We want it absolutely as close to perfect as we can get, and I don't see any flaws in the build quality. Casters look solid. The spindles, great spindles on here. All these nylock nuts, they appear to be grade 8 or at least grade 5. And, the nylock's important. I like that over a lock washer, because they tend to not back off. And then I'm even seeing some thread dope on some of these nuts. So build quality, I got to give it a 9.5 on the build quality. Built really, really well. So in the next category, we're going to talk about the toolbox, and that's ease of maintenance. And of course, we do our own maintenance. A lot of the machines, which would be basic oil changes, belts, blades. We got to change the battery, and occasionally do some hydraulic fluid or filter work. And of course, changing the blades, they're the same way across the board. You hook something to the front end, jack it up, and you remove the blades, sharpen, clean, balance, and put them back on, and you drop the front end down. So that's, they make jacks and things that you do all that with. And but the basic general idea is get the front end off the ground, take the blades off, fix them, put them back on, and drop the front end down. So when I'm going to change a belt, I'll typically, for the most part, like to drop the deck all the way down. It makes it easier to get to. And if you notice, the motor stayed steady. On some of these machines, the engine and the deck are one piece and float up and down together, but this one, the deck comes down and the motor stays fixed. But this, you've seen this before on the X-Mark. Super simple, no wing nuts or nothing. It just kind of pops off. And I find this to be super convenient. That is really cool. No wing nuts anywhere. You just grab it and pull it back. Same thing over here, pop this off. All right, let's look in here now. Obviously, I haven't studied all of these machines to learn exactly how to change belts on them, because that was the point. I wanted to go into it, kind of blind, and see if I can just kind of figure it out and see how easy or how difficult this might be to do all this stuff. All right, so there's my idler pulley, or my tensioner pulley. The way the belt is laid out, this is super easy to change a belt. I mean, just over the top easy. We just got to figure out a way to take the tension off of that idler pulley easily so that the belt will come off. Let's go over here to this side and basically push it in. All right, so that's a little bit wonky right there. A lot of these machines have that piece cut out, the little square piece cut out, so you can put a ratchet or a drive extension, something to help you get leverage to turn it. But this one is tucked up under this piece right here, and you can't get anything to it. Now, of course, I'm sure you Toro owners will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see any other way. This pulley right here has to come off in order for the belt to come off, because even when I push it this way as far as it'll go, the belt will not come off any which way. And you can see that. See, you can see that it's wrapped around this arm right here, and then the same thing on the bottom. The deck gets in the way. The pulley has to come off. I simply don't see any other way for it to be able to change the belt without taking the pulley off. That is very strange there, and I hope I'm wrong, because if I'm not, that is a major headache. I mean, a major headache. You wouldn't think Toro would do something like that, but I guess they did. So yeah, even though the belt, all this is laid out good, it's all one piece belt, this just has to come off. I mean, the pulley has to come off. There's no other way around it. I'm assuming you just pop this 1/2-inch bolt off right here, drop the pulley, and then put your belt on, and then whip this back around before you put the pulley back on, and then you would simply push that forward like so, and then work your belt back on like that. So, not terribly hard, like I said, if that's the way you actually do it. But you basically take this 1/2-inch bolt out, and this pulley, idler pulley, comes off. Swap your belt out and you put it back on. Man, there's got to be a better way to do that than having to take the pulley off. So if you know of a better way, by all means, link it up in the description below. I would love to know what that way is. Air filter, pretty standard across the board, inner, outer. Typically they're going to be on top of the engine. Super easy to get to, super easy to change. Now, I would like to make mention of this, because this is a big deal. To my knowledge, I think this is the first oil filter that has been on the front of the engine. Most of them are tucked back in the corner. Oil filter cannot be easier to get to. For just complete wide open area with no obstructions. And here's your drain tube. Just completely easy to get to. Hands down the easiest oil change setup out of all the mowers that I've seen so far. Of course, you could take your oil pan, set it right down in here, drop your deck, set your oil pan right down in here, and you can easily drain your oil and not make any kind of mess whatsoever. That's really, really, really good. Battery right here, looks like two 7/16 nylock nuts that you pop out. Take these little clips that hold this plate in, and that's what secures the battery. And there's your negative, positive, super easy to get to and change. The reservoir for the hydraulic fluid right here up top, front and center, even has a sight glass right here. That is really convenient, very convenient. You don't even have to raise this pad to get to it, where the majority of them you do. You just take the cap off and top it off and keep going. Here's where you fill it up with gas right here, pretty easy to get to. And back here in the back, I've made myself be patient and not mess with this, because I wanted to kind of do a one take on it and see how this works. And how does this work? Do these come all the way out? Let's take this all the way off and just look and see. So I'm curious to know if it's intended to be taken off. Yeah, well, you can unscrew them out. Okay, there we go. All right, you can unscrew them out a little bit deeper and then pull that bushing out. And there we go. All right. So pretty easy to get to all this. Of course, this is your gas tank right here. And now I'm just looking for basic ease of maintenance. I'm looking for the hydraulic pumps. And of course, they're right in there. And I want to know where's the hydraulic filter at? You know, we've seen them up here where they're easy to get to. This one's definitely not up there. Let me put this padding back up and we'll get under the machine and see if we can find the filter then. And for this, you simply slide that up, lock it into place. And there's our hydraulics right here. And I'm trying to find a filter, but I just cannot see a hydraulic filter. So it's got to be an internal filter, I would imagine. So if there is a hydraulic filter on here, boy, they've got it hid very, very well, and I would never get to it. I'm going to assume that the filters are internal, and that would be a dealer thing that we personally wouldn't even mess with. So as far as ease of maintenance goes, the oil, hands down the best I've seen yet as far as being easy to change. The belt, that I don't like the way that pulley has to be taken off. And again, you know, I'm not seeing a different way, but it looks like the pulley has to come off. And if that's the case, that's a big negative for me. The hydraulic fluid, I assume it's internally filtered, and something like that, you know, we wouldn't even attempt to mess with it anyway. We would take it to the dealer and let them handle that. So the pulley's kind of jacking things up for me on this score. I'm going to give it a score of a 9 for ease of maintenance. That pulley shouldn't be like that, just to be completely honest with you. You should be able to, you know, do it. You should be able to take tension off the belt, take the belt off, put a new belt on, put the tension back on the belt, and get to work. So, you know, let me say this as well. If that pulley system were better, if it were as of what I just described, that with the oil change being so incredibly easy, ease of maintenance, I would score this a 10, hands down without a question. But that pulley on that belt kind of jacks everything up. So the next category is the ingenuity, and that's the design, ergonomics, you know, functionality, ease of use of the control panel. You know, I'm a big fan of accessibility, being able to get to things easily. Most of these machines, all the controls are here on the back side, closer to you, and you know, sometimes we'll see them tucked up in here and that kind of thing. But this is totally unique because all of the controls are out front. They're out front of the drive control bars. Parking brake, and of course here's your height adjustment, throttle, key, PTO, choke. It took me a minute to get used to this because I'm so used to things being up under here. But after using the machine in my yard, the fescue, my neighbors and my father-in-law's, I've come to the conclusion that I don't really have to talk about this a lot. I'm going to give it a score of a 10 for the layout because it's absolutely perfect. You know, what I look for in controls is I want to be in the cockpit, and I want easy accessibility to everything that I need to get my hands on to be able to operate the machine, and I don't want to have to fight and struggle to get to it. And traditionally everything's here, but I don't have to fight to get to it. It's all right here in front of me. I mean, it's as simple as throttle, key, PTO, choke, brake. Boom, right here in a straight line. I don't have to dig in here to get it. I don't have to go up under here to get it. It's just right here where I have easy accessibility to it. Like I said, it took me a minute to get used to it because it's all out here instead of here. But once I got used to it, I'm absolutely loving it. Hands down, a 10. That's perfect. So the ergonomics, you know, how they fit my hand, I have pretty decent sized hands. It would be really nice if this front bar had a little bit of adjustability, because when I go to purchase this, let me get this out of the way. When I go to purchase the controls, you know, I like to use the palm of my hand and my thumbs to operate it. And even with having, you know, good sized hands, when I do that, I can barely get my fingers on top of this bar. So I have to kind of manipulate and spread my hands out a little bit further. And then it's not super uncomfortable to do that, but it is different than what I'm used to. So I don't think this fits my hands all that great if I'm being hyper anal about it. Now, of course, the back bar is super close, much closer to the control arms. And of course, I think that's a negative because you lose a lot of reverse speed that way. Now, I'm sure somehow or another in the linkage, you could potentially, you know, change this and move this forward to kind of even your forward motion and your reverse motion, but you're not mowing in reverse, you're just turning around. But still, I found that to be a little bit agitating because it's so slow in reverse, very, very slow in reverse. All of your speed is obviously going forward. So, you know, the ergonomics of it fits my hands okay. You know, it's not great. I did find the machine rides really rough. Like your rest of stand-on mowers, they all ride like a horse and buggy. And as I was operating the machine, I felt my hands coming off of these grips quite often, and to compensate for that, I would move my hands out here to be able to get a better purchase on it. And so, you know, that's just me being super nitpicky about it, trying to help you guys out with all the fine details that I possibly can. But the ergonomics on it and the way this fits my hands, it's just okay. So I'm going to give it an 8.5. So the height of cut adjustment ease, I find it to be pretty simple, pretty straightforward. There is that looks like there might be a spring assist down here. The spring assist keeps it from slamming down. I believe there is no spring assist going up that I can tell. It's just your pure actually, it does help going up. So if the spring is out, when the deck's down, the spring is extended. So when you're pulling it back, the spring is compressed and kind of helps a little bit of lifting. I find this to be pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You know, when you change out your height and you go down, does it lock? Oh yeah, it locks. So when you're bouncing across the rough yard, the mower deck's not bouncing up with it, but that locks, and then basically push the button, pull back. It does not have the ability to pull back and like lock in a different height without using the set pin. So you pull it back, lock it in place. Pretty simple. I think the only thing that I could see better is if I had the ability to come back a notch and it stay. Come back a notch and it stay. And the reason I say that is, what if you're mowing it 3.5 inches and you get into some turf that's really tall and you want to jump up to the 3 3/4, cut it, and you go back down to 3.5 and cut it again. to get it back all even. You know, that'd be nice to be able to just go boop, pop it up one notch and it stay, versus having to pull it all the way up, take your pin, readjust, and go back down. Height of cut adjustment ease, I'm going to score it a 9. The comfort of the control panel I find to be really good. All three, the height of cut adjustment lever here, the parking brake lever here, and the control arms, all three have pretty much the same texture. It's, you know, kind of that soft neoprene-ish type feel that feels really good to the hands, and nothing, I mean, I really like the feel of all of this material, so that plays into the comfort of it, and I have zero issues with that. But this layout, right, the design is a little bit different angle on these control bars, and you know, these come two different ways. You either have a rigid bar in the front and you pull controls to it and push controls towards it, and you would have control arms on the front and back, or you have two rigid bars and one control arm and you push that and pull that. That's personal preference to me. I can run either one of them, just, you know, depends on what you like. Now that's on different mowers. You know, this mower doesn't have the option to do it the other way. I want to make sure that's clear. Different brand mowers set that up different ways, but the design of this, the shape of it is a little bit different, where a lot of these machines will come more up and not quite as much angle, and you have a longer surface of flat, you know, flat area right here, parallel to the ground. And you know, for somebody with bigger hands, I find my hands kind of getting over on this curve right here where the metal curves, and then when you couple that with this thing bounces like crazy in a rough yard at higher speeds. It was kind of hard for me to keep these last two fingers on here because it drops down. So that's why I found myself sliding my hands out. That way my hands more fit that curve like that. Instead of being up here, I was here, and then once I done that, then I didn't have no issue. But you know, I've always ran all stand-on mowers with my hands basically like this, and I kind of ran out of real estate on the outside edges. So as far as comfort goes, I'm gonna give it a 9. I think this is overall it's pretty comfortable. It was for me once I got used to where I wanted to position my hands on the control arms. Fuel tank, dead center. You know, I've always said, you know, you've heard me say I like dual fuel tanks. This tank seems to be a pretty big tank, and it's all right in the middle. So one tank in the very middle versus two tanks on the outside, tank on each side, it doesn't matter. The reason I like a tank on each side is for weight distribution. Obviously you're gonna get more capacity, but weight distribution when you're on a hill. I don't want all the gas on one side or the other. But with this one being in the middle, that's pretty cool. You still get the weight distribution. It's in the middle, so it's distributed evenly across the back frame back here. So I actually like that design. I think it's pretty cool. Now, one thing I found to be pretty unique about this mower when I was mowing is this can go up and it becomes a walk behind. Yeah, you know, the safety switches are here in the controls and not in the foot pad like, you know, a lot of the other ones. But man, that's pretty nice if you have a very delicate area or maybe a slope or something where you just need to get off the machine to do something, loading it on trailers in tight areas or whatever. That's just a very, very good feature to be able to get off the mower and operate it walking behind it. And then obviously you still have the ability to hop on and ride. So I found that to be super cool. So the next category is Battle of the Blades, and we'll take a minute. We'll go over here and look at the height of cut variation, and then we're going to look up under the deck. And you can tell this is a used mower, but very, very, very low hour used mower. There's a little bit of grass up under here. You know, I'm seeing everything's pretty typical, pretty standard up under here. I've got the same basic design, except for this baffle right here that opens and closes, which is pretty dang cool if I'd say so myself. We'll just have to kind of see if it makes a difference in how it discharges. And I'm actually gonna, even though it's dry, I'm actually gonna try it in all three positions and see the difference. But pretty cut and dried, pretty standard deck up under here. And on the height of cut, we go from 5 all the way down to 1.5. So let's check that and see where we're at. All right, that's promising. 1.5 is dead spot on. Now let's try the 3-inch setting. 3 inches dead spot on. It might be 1/8 of an inch lower than 3 inches, but probably not enough where you'd even notice any difference. And let's check the 4-inch height of cut. And 4 inches is about the same as the 3-inch mark. Maybe just a fraction off. It's just a smidgen under 4 inches. When we go all the way up to 5, now it won't go in the 5 mark. And you can see right in there the actual lever is in the way. So let me set the camera down. I have to use 2 hands to do this. I just had to barely put a little bit of pressure on the lever here to pull it back to get it in the 5-inch mark. And 5 inches, yep, same thing as the 3 and the 4, just maybe an 1/8 inch off. I mean, just a smidgen. I find this to be pretty interesting and a little bit unique so far. I've got 3 icons. This one looks like water drops, maybe for wet grass. The middle one shows a picture of a bagging system, so if you're collecting the clippings. And then sunshine, so I'm assuming that's for dry. And look, you unscrew this and it's fully adjustable right there. You can see how that moves back and forth. That's pretty neat. I will have to say that's pretty neat. We're dry today and it's sunshiny. We're going to put it in that position and see what happens. So how well does it side discharge? Toro's got this adjustable baffle, and I find the settings to be pretty accurate. I mean, what I mean by that's when I run it on the sunshiny dry grass and I'm mowing sunshiny dry grass, it discharges very, very well actually. I get a good clean leading edge and it just kind of feathers the material out and leaves it laying. The side discharge on it is very, very good. Obviously I don't have a bagging system, so I can't test it there, and I didn't mow in any wet, rainy, wet grass conditions, so I have no idea on that. But as far as I'm concerned, the thing side discharges really, really nicely, and for that reason I'm going to give it a 9.5. So the next category is smooth operator, and that's the ride quality and the comfort of you as the operator. And of course these are two different things. If the machine rides really bad and the ride quality is terrible, as an operator I can still be comfortable based on the platform back here. And ride quality, right off the bat, I'm gonna give it a 7. It rides really, really bad. When I got over in my neighbor's back there, that's a very rough part of yard, and it was very difficult to keep the front end on the ground. And you know, over there we're trying to mow, be productive, get a little speed behind it, and man, it just, you hit one little slight little bump and the whole front end wants to bounce and come up off the ground. And, you know, that's not good. Obviously you can mow slower and keep the front end on the ground. I get it, I understand that, but my neighbor's yard over there, my father-in-law's yard, it was strictly about time, trying to get it done as quickly as I can, and how the machine performs while trying to get it done as quickly as I can. And I found the ride quality to be pretty bad, just like, you know, the rest of the stand-on mowers. I've yet to be on one that rides really, really good. And like I said earlier, I'm going to score a 7 for, because it just rides that bad. Now, comfort is a little bit different. Now, I would like to say this. When I was cutting smooth ground, like my fescue is pretty smooth, not near as smooth as the bluegrass back there. The bluegrass back there is like mowing across a pool table. I would like to make mention of this, that on the bluegrass I could mow at full speed, full engaged speed, as fast as the mower would go, and of course there's no bumps to throw me off track or anything, and I saw no difference in the cut quality. Meaning, when I was mowing slow and mowing the bluegrass, it cut really, 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 really good. And when I was mowing top speed, as fast as the mower would go, mowing the bluegrass, it cut really, 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 really good. I saw no difference in the cut quality as I got faster or slower, which is a big deal, because if you can mow really, really fast and maintain the cut quality, then guess what? That's more yards you can cut during the day, right? That's more money you make during, you know, a normal 12 to 16 hour work day. Well, 8 hours for a lot of people. I work 12 to 16 every day. So I don't know what you work, but that's what my hours are. But we'll say a normal 8 hour working day, you can get more yards done because the machine is faster and not sacrificing quality. So back to the comfort. So even though the machine is a rough riding machine, you know, it's on a rigid frame, no suspension, I found back here to be pretty comfortable. Even though this was a little wonky and bouncing around really bad, I found the combination of me controlling the machine, keeping the machine in check, telling it what to do, and my feet planted in this platform that's kind of separated from the frame of the mower. I found that to be pretty good, even though I found that to be pretty good despite the frame being so rigid and it riding really bad. So the comfort of the machine overall while you're using it and mowing it, I think I got to give it a 9. Even though the ride quality is terrible, the comfort was pretty good, and so it kind of makes up for it. You know, those two things kind of go hand in hand together. But man, I'm so waiting to find one that rides good. I cannot wait. If one of these things actually has good ride quality, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm telling you, because I don't know what number this is, what number 9 mower. This is the 9th mower, and every single one of them so far, the ride quality is just terrible. So manufacturers, get to work. Let's do something to make these things ride better. So let's talk about the horsepower. That's the next category, and you know, that kind of goes into the hydraulic system as well. This is a carbureted engine. It is a Kawasaki FX691V. It is a Kawasaki FX691V, and by now you should know I'm not a fan of carbureted engines. I'd much rather have a fuel-injected motor. But with that said, I will say that this is the first carbureted option I've used so far that I felt did not struggle one bit at all. I believe the engine provides plenty of horsepower for this machine. as much as it kills me to say it, if I were to purchase this machine, I would be content with that carbureted engine, because it doesn't lack for power. It plowed right through this is a lush, like super lush fescue, and the same with the bluegrass. It's as thick as the hair on a dog's back, very dense and tight. And this motor, this engine, had zero issues just plowing right through it. So I was very, very impressed with the power. So for the power, I'm gonna have to give it a 9.5. It was pretty impressive, especially for a carbureted engine. It was very impressive. So let's talk about the hydraulics, the fuel sensitivity and responsiveness. First and foremost, to set the stage, I like super sensitive hydraulics, okay? When I'm running a piece of equipment and I move the lever, and when I say move, I mean move it in microscopic manner, just a little bit. I want the arm or the wheel motor or whatever it is that I'm controlling with that particular handle or joystick or whatever, I want it to react immediately. That's the sensitivity and the feel that I prefer. I like immediate response. If I'm in the middle of a motion and I pull back just a little bit, I want immediate reaction. Okay, I'm the one telling the machine what to do, and I want it to listen, and I want it to listen in real time. I don't want it to lag behind, meaning if I move a lever forward, it takes a while for the machine to catch up, the hydraulics to catch up to obey that command. When I move it forward, I want it to move forward immediately. I find the feel of the hydraulics pretty good. I do have a little bit of pressure against my push forward, which I like that. That actually helps you maintain control, which all of them have that tension, but some of them have better tension than others. And I find this one to be really, really good. I really like the way that they feel. The one thing I don't like about the feel I get is the reverse. Okay, there's a lot more forward motion than there is reverse. You can see it's just very, very little reverse and a lot of forward. I found that to be a little annoying, to be honest with you, because when I'm backing up or turning around, I might want to back up a little bit quicker, you know what I mean? And you just can't. You pull the thing all the way back and you're like, let's go, come on, move, and it doesn't want to because it can't. So surely there could be an adjustment in here to move these a little bit more forward so that you can get a little bit more reverse, but obviously that's going to take away from the forward. So overall, I think the feel of the hydraulics, I'm going to give it a 9. I found the sensitivity to be pretty good once I get to a certain point, meaning once I moved forward and got going around a half an inch or to an inch or so, my control levers are in about an inch, then my sensitivity becomes really, really good, extremely good. But at that first inch forward of movement, I found it to be a little bit sloppy, a little bit lagging, a little bit laggish, and but like I said, once I got past that first inch in forward motion, then the rest of the time it was pretty dang sensitive. I actually, it was a pleasure operating this mower. The hydraulics I thought were that good, and it's just that little bit of slop right in the beginning. It kind of takes everything a minute to get rolling good, but other than that, I thought the sensitivity of the hydraulics was very good. And so for that, I'm going to give it a score of a 9. Now the responsiveness, and the way I look at that is if I'm going forward and then I want to make a turn, and so I'm going to let back a little bit on one while I'm continuing to go forward on the other to make it turn, how well does the hydraulic respond to that command? And I found it to be pretty good. It took me a minute to figure out the turnaround process on this. So as I'm going forward and it's straight and I want to turn to the right, obviously I'm going to start slowing down a little bit. And then I found that the right wheel, which needs to go slower, I could almost take my hand off of it and just use the left, and it would turn, and this would be a slower speed than this, just kind of automatically. Now pay attention, but I haven't noticed that on any other mowers, because typically if you forward one side, the other side stays locked, okay? And that's how you get those turnaround marks in the yard. But for some reason, this one I can go forward with one side and the other side turns a little bit slower so that it doesn't lock and you won't get that turnaround mark in the yard. And I just happened to pick up on that with this mower. Now, does that mean any of the other mowers don't do it? Well, I just didn't pick up on it if they do. But this one I did. And I found it to be very comfortable and very responsive when turning around. Now, one of the downfalls to turning this machine around is the front end is kind of sticking out a little further, and I'm kind of way back here, and so it would take a little bit longer to get it whipped around in certain places. But on flat ground situation, you know, it turned around pretty dang quick. It was very quick. So overall, I mean, the hydraulic system here is really, really nice. Other than a little bit of slop in that first inch, roughly. But then once you get past that, man, they're nice. They're extremely nice. So overall, the hydraulic system, I'm going to give it a score of a 9. So here's a non-scoring category. I call it Hold My Sun Drop. And of course, when you get hot, you want something to drink. And, you know, there's no cup holder on here. Shame on you, Toro. Shame on you, Toro. You need a cup holder on here. You've got tons of room over here on this side where you could easily put cup holder right there with absolutely zero issues whatsoever. So tighten up, Toro. Give us a cup holder. So to wrap it up, the verdict is, I mean, this is a good mower. I'm just not gonna lie about it. Just, you know, just being straightforward with you, this is a good machine. It cuts good. It discharges good. The control layout is absolutely spot on. Yes, I know it's not in the rear, but I still don't have to do anything special to get to it. It's all right here in a straight line. To be honest with you, if I was a designer or an engineer for one of these companies, that's the way it would be done every single time, hands down. Perfect straight line. Everything is so easy to get to. You don't have to struggle, and you don't have to dig down in here and go up. It's just, that's a pet peeve of mine. So the control layout's wonderful. This is a pretty comfortable machine. Got plenty of power. Ride quality stinks like the rest of them. One thing I do want to say that I didn't say in the video so far, and I think, you know, some people, people that have these mowers will know this, but here in North Carolina, culvert, ditch, whatever you want to call it, we have the V ditch in the sides of the road, and, you know, a driveway pipe under the driveway, and sometimes you mow down and out on the actual ditch. Well, I noticed that this back platform, when I go down, it drags, and then going up, the front end is pretty lightweight. It bounces a lot on rough terrain, and with me being 6'1", 250, I'm not a small guy. I'm not massive, but I'm not small. I got a little bit of junk in the trunk right here. My weight mashing down on that tend to raise the front end up when I'm going up the ditch, especially mowing my neighbor's yard. I'll mow down and straight up, and I found that to slow me down, because I would have to go a little bit slower to keep the front end on the ground as I crest the hill. Of course, when I get up on the flat spot, I could go on again. So I did want to make note of that. The only Toro piece of equipment that I own is a Toro Multi-Pro, a big boom sprayer that we spray athletic fields with, and I've never been on a Toro mower, and I was just really impressed. I think it's a great machine. I think anybody that buys one of these would probably love it. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. So that wraps it up for the Toro Grandstand. Please be sure and like, subscribe, and share. We've got about 4 more machines to go, and we'll be wrapping this whole thing up. As always, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch, and I'll check you later.